What would you do if your parents were scared to go grocery shopping? What would you do if your parents felt uneasy every time they left the house? What would you do if your parents and the community that you were in, your people, felt unsafe and pretty much felt like they were a threat because we're being treated as if we were criminals, right? What would you do? What would you do to protect the people that you love the most? I literally wake up every morning and I ask myself, what else can I do? What else can I do so my parents feel safe here? What else can I do so they don't feel like less? I'm still trying to figure that one out.
I don't mean to say this to be negative, but I want to know if anybody else is feeling the same way. I feel like my perspective in like life and just humanity is shifting. And it may be temporary because of everything that's happening with like this administration and the immigration thing. But to see so much evil kind of show up and come up, to see so much hate, to see so much division from other humans is really not only overwhelming for me, but honestly very kind of shocking because it's something that I didn't think I would experience in my lifetime. You know, we learned about a lot of things in history class. We learned about, you know, in the 1950s, in the 1960s, we learned about Germany in the 1940s. We've learned about just these crazy things that you just think are history. But then when you're actually living in a moment of it, it's like so overwhelmingly shocking, almost to like, wow, like I didn't know. I don't know. I feel like I have a hate-love relationship with humanity. Like I love humans. I love people with good hearts, empathetic people, people that want to help other people. But I now am like, I have to understand that there's also the opposite. There truly is. And it is sad.
Have you guys noticed how many Latino influencers are not speaking up? They talk about their raza, their food, dance, the clothing, the makeup, but not one word about what's happening to the gente, to the raza. Not a peep. I have a few theories. Let me tell you two. One, they voted for him. Plain and simple. So they're not going to say nothing. And two, they're afraid of losing followers. You're afraid of losing racist followers? You're afraid of losing self-hating Latinos? Losing Latinos who are cheering on other Latinos getting deported, families being torn apart, mixed households being left without the parent, kids with cancer being sent away, U.S. citizens deported, kidnapped. You would rather pander to that group. And now for the rest of you, why are you still supporting them? They haven't said one thing about what is going on, and you're still there watching their videos, liking their stuff. Ay, ay, ay.
You know, I'm really starting to regret being a Republican. I mean, the amount of bigotry that come out of conservatives' mouths on a daily basis is just unbearable. Now that I got your attention, why is it liberal Democrats love to accuse others of all types of bigotry? That's only a tactic. Most know that that party is founded on racism and bigotry. Yet they do a great job in hiding their true history from their black voters. Case in point, look at talk show host Whoopi Goldberg, who is known to be a strong, misleading voice for liberals in the Democrat Party. But I bet she would never discuss how she allowed her ex-boyfriend, actor Ted Danson, to show up at an event in New York in blackface. Between the couple, they thought it was funny. But of course, that took place in 1993. That don't count. I say that to say this. Liberals are notorious for throwing stones while they live in a glass house. And at the end of the day, that party has not changed. Just think, in 1925, they wore sheets and they burnt crosses. Only 100 years later, they wear blue hair and they burn Teslas.
I just want you guys to know that this video is coming from a first-gen immigrant from Venezuela that moved to the United States at 16 years old, that didn't speak English whenever I got here. I was told by so many people I wasn't going to be able to make it just because of the status quo and all of the obstacles you already have as a woman, as an immigrant, as the older sister. I was working my way through high school. I got off high school at 3. I will go in and work at a Wendy's from 3:30 until 10 p.m. every single day. I was separated from my dad for a long time because of Venezuela. And I was surrounded by so many people who kept making excuses for themselves as to not getting a higher education or anything. And when I say that, I don't, the degree is not going to get you the money. The degree is not going to get you security. The degree does not mean anything, but the plan and the vision and what you want for yourself does make the whole difference. I got 2 bachelors, paid for them out of pocket myself. While going to school, I was working corporate America this whole time. I'm only 24. And when I met my boyfriend, he didn't want to go to college. He didn't know what he wanted to do. He was working at a warehouse. And for me, it's not about the degree at all. It's being in the same room with different types of people so you can get different types of visions and points of view in life. It was never about the degree. It's never about the going to college. I went to community college and then I went to a bigger university. That does not mean anything. It's just about being in a place surrounded by people who want to be there, first of all. And I don't know, it made me see life different and learn English and learn different things and learn new interests and passions. Literally, I love my philosophy class. I enjoyed going to class. Like, I would have never thought about that if I didn't go to college. You know what I mean? And you don't need to go to an expensive college and go into debt. You can literally go to a community college and figure out what you want to do with your life. And you can also not do any of that and still have a plan and a vision. I'm a business owner. I literally don't use my degree, but I have it as a backup plan. So yeah, just wanted you guys to know who's behind the account. A Venezuelan immigrant that's 24 years old trying to figure life out. We're not elitists at all. You know, it's just get out of rooms where you feel uncomfortable speaking about your own wins and what you want for yourself. Literally get out of them.
As much as I hate to say, I told you so, to all of the Latinos who voted for Trump, especially those who have undocumented friends or family members, take a look at this story and let me know what you think.
Me siento totalmente traicionada y sé que a lo mejor no lo digan.
Angustiada, desesperada y decepcionada. Así dice estar esta madre cubana Lillian Pais luego de que su esposo fuera deportado por la administración del presidente Trump, a quien ella le dio su voto.
Creía que quizás con el mandato del presidente, las personas que eran delincuentes eran los que se iban a ir y los que tenían pues un récord sea limpio y demás, pues iban a tener una oportunidad. ¿Qué está pasando? ¿Qué está pasando? ¿Dónde está mi esposo? Y pues bueno, y ella me dice que lo habían detenido.
Do you still stand behind and support this man? The same man that's deporting people with melanated skin? If you're a Latino and you voted for Trump, are you feeling deceived yet? Are you feeling lied to?
Ya me cansé de los latinos, pero como mexicana en Estados Unidos es un shock para mí ver
I don't know if that creator is purposely trying to rage bait or trying to appeal to a more conservative audience. My initial kind of thought probably is, out of that term, right, ghetto is a very loaded term, and I think it's one that's been weaponized against Black and brown communities historically. For her to use that term towards Latinos here in the States, especially during this political climate, is very irresponsible. But I also take personal affront to this because I grew up in an area that she would consider ghetto. Area neighborhood that has poverty rate of more than 46.1%. Yet I was able to make it out, and yet I was able to attain 2 degrees from some of the best universities in the world. And one of the most important takeaways that you learn when you make it out the hood, when you make it out, you realize how systemically Mexican Americans, Latinos, BIPOC folks have been shut out from these institutions, from higher education. I'm incredibly proud of where I grew up. I grew up in North Long Beach. When someone who is Mexican, someone who was born and raised in Mexico, refuses to even understand the historical context of what it means to grow up Mexican American in the US. Our communities have been on the receiving end of disastrous and horrific policy. What it means to have our communities be historically redlined. And that in some areas in the US, in some cities, Mexican Americans weren't even able to take out a mortgage because of their background. Mexican Americans growing up in very historically underfunded neighborhoods that then in turn impact the amount of funding that goes to schools that Mexican American children went to. course, impact their social outcomes in the future, right? I think it's really unfortunate that creators like that use their platform to like denigrate our community, as opposed to having a bit more curiosity as to what systemic barriers have prevented a certain community from being able to achieve their highest potential. We live in the vacuum, y'all. We live in the context. We live in the context of a very racialized society. Mexican Americans have been on the receiving end of that racialized society.
Deep down inside, it ain't about trying to secure the border. Don't let them con y'all into believing that, because they will get on here and say the most racist things to me. I have said nothing hateful about white people, which is amazing, because to unify people without fear mongering a certain group of people and spreading hate is difficult. That takes true leadership, because anyone can go and start talking trash about a group of people and bring everybody against them, because that's what they're doing with undocumented immigrants. They're uniting people by spreading hate and fear mongering against undocumented immigrants. And keep in mind, a lot of people who have negative ideas about undocumented immigrants probably have never met an undocumented immigrant in their life. And by met, I don't mean like pass in the store. I mean like talk to, speak to, get to know them. They have no idea. And it's hateful, because like, how do you treat somebody like that? And they'll try to blow up an issue and make it seem like it's a big deal. Like, oh, there are a bunch of gang members coming over from Latin American countries, and we have all this crime coming over here. Like, they'll try to inflate all these issues when the vast majority of undocumented immigrants are just immigrating because they're immigrating undocumentedly or without the legal residency in the U.S. because the policy is extremely strenuous. And it's honestly, I think it's unreasonable. I think it's unreasonable to ask somebody coming from a country that is destabilized, or coming from a country that doesn't have the kind of resources that your country has. And they're coming to your country to seek refuge and for help. They're coming to your country because they want asylum. And I think it's unreasonable to ask them to jump through all these hoops and pay tens of thousands of dollars some people pay, man. And I just think it's unfair. And people will go and they'll spread hate about undocumented immigrants, and and this disproportionately affects people from Hispanic and Latino communities, because a lot of immigration is coming from people immigrating from Latino country. They're immigrating from Mexico. They're immigrating from Central America, South America. Half the U.S. at one point was Mexico, and people will say, "Oh, it was conquered, it was bought." Bro, the U.S. ripped off Mexico. Let's just make that clear. They try to make it seem like, oh, the U.S., they came and they started the revolution and then they conquered Mexico. No, bro. The U.S. exploited and ripped off the native population, and they exploited and ripped off Mexico. Let's make that very clear. Like, there is nothing like honorable, oh, blazing glory, they did this amazing thing. No. So U.S. citizens who have this idea that just because someone is coming from another country and they're coming to your country, that they have to do it right, they got to follow. You should highly reconsider this as a U.S. citizen and really think how fair your system is.